Hi, thanks for joining me again. I've been following this stock, EDV, Endeavour Group, on the Australian Stock Exchange since it first listed about 14 or 15 weeks ago. There's 70 bars of trading so far. This is its entire life on the Australian Stock Exchange so far. I was most interested to see if I could find some signs of professional interest in the market. If I can see obvious signs of what is likely professional interest in the market, then I'm interested in getting involved as well. Mainly because I can be swept along with them if they're supporting the stock and putting in place some sort of markup phase. You can see when the stock first listed, there was quite a bit of extra trading in the market, quite high volumes going through, and following that, price started to push away and showed some signs of bullish absorption. You can see here the threatening down bars that make it appear as though the market is going to go down, but there's no downside follow through in response. And you can see the market has a pressing nature to the upside, and clustering of closes are fairly obvious as well. But at this stage, after the initial surge of volumes were fairly low. If you look down here, there's no serious volumes going through. So if I zoom in a little bit, the market found some supply being drawn out up here, and this day here they announced their results for the 6 months. This was the first results announcement, and whether they were bad or not doesn't matter. I was expecting the market to use the results against them so they can get some buying happening in the market, but that still remained to be seen at the time. So in response to the results, price moved lower for a period, but then it pushed up, and there was some increased shorts opened at on this bar, and then this bar, you can see that there was a little gap down from the previous close. This bar here was when the stock went ex-dividend, and when stocks go ex-dividend, there's always a little bit of weakness in the market because it's another 6 months or so until the next dividend, and stocks can be pushed around a little, especially soon after they've gone ex-dividend. And you can see the market then moved into a downwards trend. This little up bar here had the lowest volume of all the previous recent ones, so there was a little lack of demand in there. Price continued lower. It tried to move higher, but on low volume again. So you can see there's a lack of demand in the market. Once again, it tries to close higher, and there's even lower volume. There's a determined push to move the market lower. Now on this bar here, I got the first sign of buying coming into the market. You can see that spread has narrowed, volume has increased. In fact, volume was the highest it's been since this bar here, which was the day before ex-dividend day, where a few shorts were opened at this point. The only way spread can be narrow on this increase in volume like this, and quite good volume, was if buying came in. Buying support has come into the market, and that was pretty much confirmed the next day by price being up slightly in response. If you think about it in the opposite way, if all of that was selling pressure, how could the next day finish higher? You would expect if it was all selling, that price would have continued lower. It would be very weak, but it wasn't. The next day closed slightly higher, albeit on just average volume. And then the next day after that, spread narrowed even further, and volume was very high. That volume was traded on market, and I could see for sure, with little doubt, that strong buying support had come into the market on that bar there, and I was ready to buy as well. And this was the response, this bar here. It doesn't look that great. It's a big up bar, closed almost in the middle. Volume was low, or lower than average, much reduced over the previous day. But the most interesting thing about this bar, this up bar in response, which was on the 20th of September, which was last Monday from when I'm doing this. On the 20th of September, have a look at what the market did overall. This bar here, a massive breakdown bar. Here was previous support. You could put it there if you chose. And the market sliced lower. Yet EDV, in response to the very strong buying on the previous Friday, moved up quite well. And it was up the next day as well, on an increase in volume, which was sort of like a buy the offer bar. And I actually think the market tried to buy the offer. You can see that following that, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, volumes continued to get lower, but price continued to get higher pretty much. And that's because the professionals in the market have probably left it unsupported, hoping that it would drift lower without their support. But the underlying buying pressure in the market now was high enough to keep it moving higher, regardless of the fact whether there was strong buying support taking place or not. Whether they can short it back lower, I'm not sure. It may be that this stock starts to move higher without very much intent, but in a buy the offer sort of fashion, only because it won't go lower. And this was their big buying opportunity here and here. And whether they'll get it down, we'll have to wait and see. And I expect there'll be good support in the market for the stock. So hopefully that's obvious. You can see spreads narrowed considerably on increased in volume, and both times the next bar was higher. We'll just have to see what happens subsequently. But I'm expecting that the market wants this stock, and they're probably going to get as much as they can of it. And it might take a little while to accumulate positions large enough for them to be considered material. Okay, well that's EDV. It had some buying support come in at the end of last week, and the subsequent week's trading has been quite positive. The first positive trading really since it went ex-dividend. I don't think the market professionals really want it to go higher at the moment, but there's very little selling in the market now. What selling was present probably took place on this bar, and that's why that volume was so high. And there's very few sellers in the market now. Unless they can get some bad news out there, they may have to just buy the offer as best they can and watch price move up in some sort of shallow uptrend. Okay, thanks for your time. See ya.